Alright guys, so I'm just going to review some hands from my database, and I'll do this every once in a while when I get between 20 or 30 hands. I'll just go through it, review some of them. I mean, they're not all big pots or anything, but there's just something we can learn from the hands, you know. So I've marked them down, so let's just jump straight into it. Playing heads up at 20 PLO. Guy opens on the button. Standard call. Flop the do pair. Bottom twos. Gut shot. Backdoor flush shot. Check to him. And he checks back. Boom. 8 on the turn. Fantastic card for us. We got bottom 3 pair. And we bet for value. Okay. He raises us by the pot. Now, let's take a look at this player. He's c-betting the flop 51%, which is reasonably high. I mean, it's not. It's medium. I'd say it's definitely around average. It's not too high or too low. You can see I'm over 19k hands here. I'm c-betting 62%. So it's not super high. But what kind of hands is he raising us pot here? I never expect him to have like 3-4 on the flop. Definitely would expect him to bet. We have a deuce block. We have a 4 blocker anyway. Most aces I expect him to bet on the flop. Ace 5 definitely. Ace deuce most of the time, and even ace king queen jack. I expect him to bet most of the time. We also have an 8 blocker, so very unlikely he has ace 8, and he might not even raise here with ace 8. So literally, think he has air here. What kind of hands can he have on the turn that he's semi-bluffing with? Hands like 6-7, 6-7-9, 4-6-7, hands like that. So those are the hands that he can be semi-bluffing me with here. There's no other flush draws present. So I see players in this spot, they might just think, oh, I'm probably good. I'll just raise to like 10 or 11 euros here to, just take the pot down. But the thing is, if you flat call and you check him on the river, you can induce a lot of bluffs. So that's what we decided to do. We flat call him here. And a very safe looking king. That should never ever help him here. Obviously I don't expect him to have ace king very often. He never raising the turn and never has a set of kings, wouldn't be raising the turn. So the most likely hand here is a busted straight draw or complete air. So we check to him again and he pots the river. So it's worth noting his bet sizing, whatever hand he shows up with. And we have a relatively easy call, but I see some people folding in the spot, and that's obviously a mistake. And we're in a decent sized pot, and he has the hand that makes a lot of sense. 4, 6, 7, 9. So a complete wrap. He picks up the straight with a 3, 4, 6, 7, or 9. Okay, and on to the next hand. So we've got 10, 10, Jack Queen, small blind. Fish limps, another fish limps. Guy opens on the button who looks very loose. We could 3-bet here, or we could flat call. Both plays are fine. Prefer flat calling, to be honest, because the hand does do quite well multi-way. So we do flat call and fish calls and fish calls. Now we flop second set, which is great. We are like 150 big blinds deep with this guy, and there's already 460 in the pot. So I see most players just like either checking here and then waiting for him to bet and just potting, getting it in, or just pot donking out. Problem is, with pot donking out, you're only going to get the hands to continue that are basically flipping against you. Like king queen of spades, king queen 9 of spades, 7 8 9 of spades. Those kind of hands. So we checks around to the pre-flop raiser who pots it, and it's usually betting tails. At small stakes, 20 PLO, people only pot it with like. I mean, in the hand before we did see him potting with bluffs, but usually you'll find that 90% of the time when they're potting it, it's like the nuts basically, and the other 10% of the time it'll be a bluff. So that is pretty much what it's like at low stakes PLO. So the best play here against a really strong range would definitely be to flat here, as obviously if he does have a wrap and a flush draw, we're not even a favourite. So we do just flat call. We're waiting for a safe turn card to get it in, and we get one more caller. So 7 on the turn. Obviously it completes 8, 9, but I mean the nuts was always going to change on the turn. I mean, we didn't really like 7, 8, 9, queen, king, ace, or spade. So 7 is probably the best of those cards. So we can either pot here and get it in, or we can check raise. And in this instance, I go for check raise. If we check here and this guy pots it, and then this guy flat calls, then it's great for us. We're obviously beating this guy. And against this guy's bet, it's like whatever. You know, it has less than 2 pot size bets in the pot. If I check and he pots it and he pots it, maybe we could fold. But against this guy, I mean, he does look pretty passive post flop, but I still probably would not fold against him here with a second set. Okay, so we check, he checks and he checks. Boom, probably the worst card in the deck, ace of spades. King, queen gets there, any flush gets there. And obviously losing to 8, 9. So we just check folding here. So it goes check, check, and check. The hands turn over, so this guy did have top set. Obviously it's very unlikely because we have a jack. And this guy, you know, has, you know, double gut shot on the flop and a flush draw. So, I mean, getting it in on the flop, I think, is not going to make you much money at all on this flop. Waiting until the turn is a lot better. If it was jack 10-3 with no spades, like say it was, you know, rainbow, jack of diamonds, 3 of clubs, 10 of spades, then check raising is a lot better. But on this flop, I definitely prefer check calling. I just see most people, like I say, jamming the flop. I think it's just a slight mistake, especially, you know, 150, 200 big blinds deep. Okay, so I think that hand was fine. And here we have double suited kings, super standard open. Get called in one spot, and we get jack 8-7 flop. I don't mind betting here, obviously. It is going to hit his range somewhat, although he is playing 81% of his hands, so he's going to have a lot of disconnected cards here. So, you know, most of the time he's still winning on this flop. He can have like 7, 8, 4, 6 hands, you know, hands like this. You know, he can have like some 2 pairs here, but most of the time I think we're winning. We've got 2 backdoor flush draws as well. So I don't mind betting or check calling, to be honest with you. We never check folding here, obviously. So we go for a check, and he checks behind. Turn is the deuce, which is a great card for us. And we actually bet for value. We can get value from a lot of pair and gut shots. Any jack, as I say, we're probably still winning. So we could squeeze out some small value here and hope for a safe river card. And he flat calls, and the river is an ace. And there is a good chance we're still winning here. However, if I bet, I'm definitely only getting called by a better hand here. I don't expect him to call with a hand like 8-9, you know, or queen 10-8, hands like that, you know, 4-5-6. So we check, and he bets 3 into 5. Think about the kind of hands that he's going to be betting here on the river. As I said, I don't put him on too many 2 pairs on the flop. He can have some. But on the river, if he has 2 pairs on the flop, if he had 8-7, jack 7, don't expect him to be betting on the ace. Definitely not with 8-7. If he has ace-jack, sure, I expect him to be betting the river. He does have a 50% bet in position on the flop when checked too. So that's reasonably high. So I definitely expect if he had jack 8, jack 7, he'd bet most of the time on the flop. And then obviously with some complete bluffs. Would he bet a lone ace on the river? Definitely not. Okay, so I can't really see what kind of hands that would be losing to here. Most likely hand would be a pair and a gut shot as deciding to bluff. Okay, and so we do call the river, and he did have pocket 9s for blockers, and 5, I guess he had a gut shot, 9-5. He should have bet the flop, obviously, when I checked him. He should have bet the turn, he should have bet the river, and I obviously would have folded. But I think, as played, we kind of put him on a weak hand there. I just see people seeing the river card, you know, an ace, and just thinking, all right, I've got kings, it's 1 pair, there's an ace on the river, I'm just going to fold. When really, they're not really repping anything. So you have to make a call when you think they've not got anything, you know. On to the next. Jack's on the button, open it up, gets called, and heads up. We've got the blockers, obviously. Is this guy's stats? Wow. Wow, he looked mega crazy. 92% VPIP, 46% PFR, and 20% free bet out of 48 samples. So pretty aggressive. So he donks the flop. His donking percentage is 53%, which is absolutely huge. I'm not sure how many samples it is over. Donking the flop pings over 45 samples. He's donking 53% of the time. So he's going to have so many weak hands here. He's going to have like Queen 9, King Queen, any set. Probably any flush draw, any pair and a gut shot maybe, 9, 10, King 10, Queen 10, Queen Jack, etc. So obviously we have blockers here. We're only 100 big blinds deep, but we want to get him off this hand because he just has absolute air so often. So we make a raise, not the full pot, but we just make a small raise so that we can get a nice size bet in on the river. And he flat calls, predictably, rarely has 10 Jack here. Great card on the turn. So he checks. We have to bet here. Now this is really kind of exploitable against a good player, okay? But I wouldn't do this, against a good player. So you see we've got 16 in here and there's 10 in here, and it's kind of really awkward sizing because if I pot here, there's going to be 30 in the middle, and when it comes to the river there's going to be 6.55 left, pretty much 6 left. So when I shove the river on the deuce of spades, it's going to cost him 6 to win 30. 6 to win 36, right? So he's going to get like 6 to 1, is that? So I think even if he has like a hand like Queen 9 or even 8-9, he's bet the flop. So say he had 8-9-10 on the river, because he's getting such good odds, he's just going to be like, fuck it, I just call anyway, expecting to lose, when really I'm just barreling as a bluff. Okay, like for sure I'm not winning now. Like even just a queen beats me. The only thing I can beat is obviously like ace-10 of clubs at the moment, hands like that. So I go for a bet that leaves me like, I bet him 350. I know he's not going to shove here because he just doesn't have 10 Jack, and I rarely see people check raising, with a pair and a flush draw here. Okay, if I had ace-10 of clubs in his spot and I'm betting this size, I'm jamming in this spot, basically, if he has this hand. Because I have a 10 blocker, obviously Jack makes me the nuts, any club makes me the nuts. And if I had 10 Jack on this hugely draw-heavy board, I'm never really going to be betting 350. I'm definitely going to be potting it, or near enough. So I bet 350 to set up a nice river bet with 13.05 left. And basically there's going to be like 17 in there. So it's going to be like 3/4 pot bet, which will get him off hands like, 9-10 queen, should do, 8-9, any queen, possibly like king queen, hands like that. I don't think he would fold a set just because he looks like a fish, but if he has a set, so be it. So I bet 350 and he flat calls and a fantastic river card. Obviously he checks and we shove 13.05 to win 17.56 and he folds. So I just think that the bet sizing was crucial on the turn. Like I say, if I put it here and then I shove the river for like 6 into 36, there's no way he's going to fold one pair, I don't think. But on the river here, when I'm betting 13 into 17, that's a chunk, so we can fold. So well played us, I believe. Super standard open. Put a suited ace on the button. Folds. This guy is a reg at these stakes, I think. Flop the flush draw, and obviously you can bet here. We don't have any gut shots or anything. We just have the nut flush draw, but we do have an 8 blocker, so it kind of blocks a little bit of 8-9s, 8-9 Jack, 6-8-9s for 6-8 hands, and we have the nut flush draw. So I would actually prefer bet here, looking back, because I don't think we're getting check raised very much, but we do still have to check. 5 on the turn, and he decides to bet. I think he would be auto stabbing quite well most of the time here when I check back flop. So I decide to peel with my ace high flush draw. I could just raise here just to get it over with. Obviously I'm only repping a 5, but that's fine. And then the river is a queen, and he decides to bet again. I think it's a bit of a strange line for him. Obviously he can have some strong hands like pocket 10s, pocket 7s, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going for a check raise. We do block like aces and kings, but there's no way that he would be betting here. Well, I mean, he should be betting here with aces and kings. But I just think in this spot he's likely to have a busted draw or complete air, or you know, super polarized, like he's going to have pocket 10s, pocket 7s, or trip 5s, and they're very unlikely hands. So I just decided to go for an actual min raise, as I think, first of all, regs are aware that when people min raise, usually it's extreme strength, and they kind of can't fold because it's such a good price. Like he has to call 3 to win 12, so he's going like 4 to 1. But the thing is, as I said, I think he has complete air. So I'm only making this raise to get him off like a pair of 10s. But it's not really complete air, a pair of 10s. Obviously that's straight down value. But like a pair, say like a pair of 7s, you know, 3, 4, 7, 8, double suited. If he defends hand pre-flop, I think he'd probably take this line. So I'm only literally raising here to get him off like pocket 7s, like pocket 6s or pocket 8s, and a 10 basically. So I just do the min raise and he folds. But you never really see a min raise as a bluff. I just think it's a good play and needs to be used a bit more often. Obviously when you think they've got complete air, otherwise they're never going to fold like top pair or like bottom 2 pair for a min raise. So this guy opens, he's quite tight. I would like to see myself flat call because this guy looks fishy, and I decide to flat call, which I like that decision, because I've gone from playing, you know, they're not weak aces, but playing okay aces out of position against, you know, a reg who's pretty tight. I've got that option, like 3-betting, just playing heads up with him out of position, which is not going to make me too much money, or flat calling and obviously bringing the fish along, which is going to make me more money probably. So I'll go for the flat call on the queen 10-4. We'll just go for a check. Fish checks and goes for a c-bet. We can flat call again here. We can turn a diamond. We can turn a ace. We also have blockers. So for 9, no, sorry, for jack or king comes, we have 2 blockers to the straight. So obviously call here, and the fish calls as well. So as I'm saying, extra money in there. King of diamonds, great card to bluff. Now we have obviously ace jack as the nuts. We have 2 aces as blockers, and we have the 2 diamonds. So I'd like to see myself lead out here, and I do lead out. The problem with check raising here is that people might feel committed. If I check here, fish checks here, they bet 5, I shove and say the fish folds. They're going to have 12 left, and there's going to be like 16 in there. I think if they have 2 pair, they might just not believe me. Or if they're betting, like, say, with king jack with diamonds, they're just going to feel priced in. So the good thing about leading is it leaves more money on the river when they call me. So I lead here, expecting to get called a lot, but expecting to get folds on the river, basically. So I lead here, fish calls, and the reg calls. So now pot's 20 euros, and we've got basically 12 euros in stacks here, 8 euros in stacks here. So I have to lead out on the river, obviously. I think I have fold equity, so just to show this guy doesn't have more money behind, because he's getting really good odds. But I think I'm going to get people to fold, basically. And I'm only risking 8 against him anyway. I'm risking 8 to win 20. I'm pretty sure this guy's folding, because obviously he's a reg, he's got a bit of discipline, and he's going to be folding like queen 10 here, you know, basically. So fish folds, reg folds. Very well played hand, I believe. On to the next. Fish limps on the under the gun, and we open up. Late position. Get 3 calls, and the flop comes down. Checks round. I like to bet here. I just like to bet fold. I can turn so many cards though. I can turn like 7, 9, 10, queen, king, or spade. So, but I'd still just prefer to bet. But I do decide to check, which is fine. I mean, if we bet, we have to bet fold, obviously, when somebody raises us. But on the turn, we can check call if we hit a card. But the problem is we're up against 12 cards here. And I think I'd still rather try and... As long as I can get this guy to fold on the flop. If one of these guys calls, I pretty much get a free turn card anyway. Because they're not really going to, you know, donk into me. Lead into me. So I do prefer leading. C-betting, sorry, on the flop. But that's fine. So we do turn one of these cards. This is what I was saying. If I'd have bet the flop and got 2 of them to fold, now I'd probably be in position and I could get a free river if I wanted to. And I'd only be up against 4 cards. So yeah, I would prefer a lead, a c-bet, sorry. So c-bet here, obviously we just flat call, and 4 comes down. We shall check, and this guy bets. Now, fish folds, what do? We could call here, we could raise here, we could fold it. Obviously he can have a 4. It's quite hard to make trips. I know we said we're up against 12 cards, but let's think about how many draws have missed this. The problem is we do block queen 10 a little bit and spades a little bit, but I mean it's still possible to have, you know, 10-7 with spades, 5-6-7 with or without spades. You know, there's so every single draw missed. So I could just call here, or I could raise, pretty much. But I would say I'm probably winning like 60% of the time. So I would probably just prefer a call. I don't know what hands I want to get into fold. If he has like jacks or queens, well, we block queens, we block kings, we block 10s, although I don't think he'd value bet. We don't block jacks or aces, basically. I don't think he'd value bet jacks. He could bet aces, but with a 10% free bet, I expect him to free bet pre-flop, especially on the button. So I would just prefer a call here. Okay, I did call. I thought I raised. But yeah, I just call. And he did have a missed draw here. So picked off a bluff there. And we have crappy aces. We flat this guy's open. I would prefer to 3-bet it, even though they're so weak. This guy's opening 45% of his hands. Only over 75 hands, but still. Early position, 4 out of 4 samples. He's opened in early position. So definitely would prefer a 3-bet, but I don't really mind playing a hand this week on the button. And here comes the flop. So we flop top pair and not flush blockers. Check. Fish bets 40. I want to just pounce on this straight away. So I just raise straight away and he calls. 10 on the turn. Now he checks. I want to size it so that I have a decent river size bet left. Okay, that's the art of bluffing successfully. So I bet 4 here, and he flat calls, and you can see the amount in the pot is 1430, and the amount in my stack is 1421. So it's exactly a pot size bet pretty much. So that is the art of it. You don't want to get to the river and the pot's 14 and you've got 3 euros left because they're never going to fold a hand. You need to get it so it's like a pot size bet left on the river. So think about the hands he has now. Most likely hand is a weak flush, or even a hand like a deuce 4-6, ace deuce 4. I block a queen, so it's kind of hard to have pocket queens. You shouldn't have too many queen 5s or queen 3s because they're not that connected, even though he is playing loose. So it's kind of hard to have a full house here. So most likely hand is a busted straight draw or a weak flush draw. A weak flush, sorry. So he checks and we jam. Perfect sizing, and he folds. So well orchestrated bluff there. Aces again. So somebody limps, coming for a pot open, 3 callers. I think it's going to be a similar situation. Ace of spades blocker. Problem with this is there's 370 in here and this guy has 769, which is a bit of a problem. I suppose I could bet 2. I have a few options here. I can just check back and just kind of decide to give up, or I could just bet like 2 and hope this guy folds, and if he does fold then I can continue bluffing against these 2. Okay, so in this situation I decided to bet 2 pretty much and hoping this guy folds, and he does fold, so now I'm on basically. If this guy calls here, I'm not going to bluff him for his last like €5 because I think he's just going to have 2 good odds. With any like 2 pair, any flush, he's calling any set. So if he'd have called this bet, it would be over for me. But he folds, which is the best news. This guy calls, which is fine for us because we're going to obviously barrel him. Deuce on the turn. This guy looks pretty tight, you can see, you know. So he's definitely capable of folding a queen high flush, king high flush even. So you have to know that it's going to work against your opponents. So we've got 520 here. And he flat calls, as you can see, 17 in stacks, 19 on the river. Not quite a pot size bet, but pretty much like 80% or something bet. Just a rough guess, but he checks, obviously we shove and he folds. Okay. Aces again. Bloody hell. I don't get aces this often. Right. So open and we get 3 callers. Checks. Guy bets. I don't just mind flat calling here, to be honest. I think flat calling is the best. I mean, it's never a mistake to raise top set. Obviously, when you get it in and there's 4 players in the pot, good chance somebody's going to be calling you with a flush. You know, jack high flush, queen high flush. And you're not going to be a favourite. You're going to be like 38% or something. So you will get in behind. I think better play here, so obviously to flat, get some more money in the pot, give better pot odds to myself. Okay, so I do flat and folds, and this guy folds. So in this case they both folded, but I could have both, you know. Somebody has ace king, somebody has a super weak flush, give them a chance. Somebody has a set of 3 somehow, I give them a chance to flat call. 5 on the turn, and then the guy checks. Now this is quite interesting here because if he has a queen high flush, he would never just be donking the flop and then checking the turn. So most likely hand now is going to be a weak flush. Or you do see sometimes this kind of play with like a set of kings, like very rarely, but with fishes it is possible. So I can bet here and hope to get him off a low flush, and at the same time I can bet here and hope to get value from a set of kings. I find that people are kind of more likely to fold like a 5 high flush here than they are to fold kings, because kings can improve to a full house. Flushes, if they've got a 5 high flush, they're only going to have a 5 high flush at the end of the hand. So you can actually get value from lower flushes. So I would actually like to turn my hand into a kind of semi-bluff. So I do decide to bet 460, and he calls, and the river is a deuce, and he checks, and you can go either way here. It really depends on your opponent. Like, I think it's most likely hand here is a flush, just like a 10 high flush or a jack high flush. And it really depends if you think he's going to fold or not. His showdown percentage when saw flop is 26%, which isn't that high at all. So it is a good chance that he could fold a 10 or, you know, jack high flush, 9 high flush, things like that here. So I don't mind it either way. I don't really know the opponent that well. I only got 300 hands on him, so I can't really tell you. I'd be able to tell you more about what this guy would do because I have more hands on him than 300 hands. So in this instance, I do decide to bluff, and he does call, and he does have the 10 high flush. He's kind of telling me what hand he has, you know, once he bets flop, checks, and just goes into check call mode. Next hand, we have pocket J's, the JJs. Standard call in a small blind. And we flop second set with a queen blocker. Checks here. Guy c-bets. Other guy folds. Now this guy's c-bet percentage is very high. It's very high. I don't think I noticed that at the time of the hand. So I wouldn't actually just mind raising here. And then obviously if I'm raising, I'm not folding. But in this instance, I decided to call. And we get a terrible card on the turn. And we check. And then he bets. As this hand is played right now, I very, very rarely think he's bluffing here. He has to have pocket 10 specifically to be bluffing. But I mean, it's hard to have pocket 10s without having either a 9, queen, jack, 8 or king with it. So I think it's very hard for him to be bluffing here. So but the thing is, I see people calling in this situation just because they've got a set. Well, I've got a queen, I've got 2 jacks, and I've got an 8 in my hand. It's going to be so hard to improve. And even then, it's still not the nuts because it's not even top set. So you definitely don't have the odds to try to make a full house here. So I just fold. Yeah, but looking back now, I'd probably just raise the flop and go with it, just because yes, you can have like flush draw, you can have like ace 10, you can have ace 10 with hearts, you can have like queen 10 with hearts. Oh, I've got the queen 10. Well, you know, you can have 8, 9, queen 10. I suppose that's a straight. But yeah, I don't mind getting it on the flop now. But once you see this turn card as played, you have to fold. I mean, that should be standard, but I know a lot of the guys that watch my PLO videos are like new guys, so I'm just trying to make videos obviously to show what you should do in these situations. And opened in the hijack, flat called in the cutoff. These hands really don't do very well here. I mean, they're not terrible. The gap's at the bottom, which is what you want. This is a better hand than 4, 5, 6, 8. 4, 5, 6, 8 is better. Is worse than this hand. So you want the gap at the bottom because you make better straights. But I prefer to free bet this hand just to like try and get, you know, this guy in the pot or this guy. But the thing is, this guy's short stacked that if I 3-bet here to like 3 something, 3 or 4 euros, he can jam and then I have to call it off. So I just flat call. And this guy 3-bets. This guy 4-bets. Short stack calls it off. And in this situation, I definitely would like a fold. Let's have a look at the stats there. This guy's 3-bet stat is 5.3%, and the small blind 4.6%. So he's have quite a tight range here. So he either has aces or, you know, 10 jack queen king double suited pretty much. I think 90% of the time here he's going to have aces. Other times he's going to have high card rundowns. This guy's 4-bet stat is 5%. 4-bet range is 5%. And his 3-bet is pretty low as well. So very likely that he has aces also. And then we're looking at the short stack. Well, it doesn't really matter because he's got 866. So in relation to the other. But he's going with any hand pretty much. Once he opens, it gets flattered, 3-bet, 4-bet. He's just got such good odds. Like he's in. Like he's just in there. And then this guy folds. So initial thoughts is to fold. But if I think they both have aces, I definitely want to get it in. Basically, I'm confident they both have aces because of their stats. So I am in to gamble, mate. There is something to be said to... No, there isn't. Forgive me. I have to get it in. So in. Oh, let's see what hands they had first. So we've got aces, which we kind of suspected. And we actually had kings here, which is quite surprising. And we had aces here. I would have thought maybe it would be the other way around. Aces here, aces here. Well, this could have been anything. But yeah, in this exact situation, we're in pretty good shape because we have the low cards. Obviously, kings here, aces here, aces here. So we're in pretty good shape. So when you get in a situation like that, you really need to try and work out what their most likely hand is. And I've got 8 high, but I had a feeling that there's a good chance I can get it in with an equity advantage. I've got 29% 4 ways, you know, it's more than 25%. So I'm making a bit of money here. And you'll notice that the kings are actually the favourite because these guys both have aces. So kings. But at that point, he didn't know this guy had aces, you know. He should know this guy probably has aces like 90% of the time. So jamming with kings is terrible. He's only a favourite because this guy has the other aces. So the kings win, but that's irrelevant. Okay, on to the next hand. Jacks. Open with jacks. Get 3-bet. This guy's got 35% 3-bet, so never folding here. Flat calling. 9-7-3. He's got an 82% flop c-bet, so very good chance we're still winning here. I mean, I could just jam here. Probably gonna make a small amount of money, but like I'm never gonna get him far ahead. Even if he just has like, you know, king, queen, 5-6, I'm not in a good shape because he has, you know, the 4 4s, the 4 8s, the 3 queens, the 3 kings. But I decide to call, and 8 on the turn, and he pots it. So literally, he can still have any hand because he's opening 44% of his hands. Like he's 3-betting 35%, c-betting 82%, c-betting on a turn 75%. So it's still a good chance we could be winning here. Plus we have blockers to the jacks, we have a pair of 9s, and we have a blocker to the 6, and we also have an open ender. So I'll see people just like folding here saying, you know, I know you got nothing, but oh, I just got a pair of jacks. No, screw it, man. Fuck you. I think I'm winning. I've got blockers. I've still got outs, whatever. I'm jamming here, even though, you know, he's bet 13. There's only another 10 for him to call. So he's going to get like 3.7 to 1. Boom. Then you get 3.7 to 1. No more than that, I think. Yeah. But anyway, so I shove. Boom. Fold. Good. Good shit, mate. Good shit. Open it up. Open it up. Standard so far. Flop nothing. Checking is good. Check. Bets here. We obviously can call. We got a flush draw and a gut shot. And we brick, but we do hit top pair. Checks. Checks. Boom. This guy bets. Fold. What's this guy representing here? Jack 8? No. Would bet the flop, definitely. And wouldn't value bet the river. King 8? Maybe, but we have a king. Maybe he wouldn't even value bet king 8. King Jack? Maybe, but would probably still see bet the flop, especially if he was like King Jack 9-10, King Jack Queen 10, King Jack 7-9, King Jack 7-10. Those hands see bet the flop. Would he value bet a hand like 8 deuce, 8-3, Jack deuce on the river? No. Would he value bet a hand like King Queen, Ace King, with such a low post flop aggression factor? Looks pretty passive post flop. I don't think he's betting one pair here. So most likely he has a busted draw. Queen 10, 7-9, 4-5, Ace 4-5, any flush draw. So a call with my King 7. Got to really think about these spots. And we win. Yes, 9-10 with hearts. Makes sense. Easy, right? Open it up. Boom. Flop bottom pair. And we go for a check. Guy checks back. Ace on the turn. It's a scare card. So I'm just going to bet here. Thing is, we don't represent it very much, but if I look at his c-bet stat in position, you know, bet when check 2 in position on the flop, 65%, and he looks super aggressive post flop. So I think he has absolute air most of the time. Otherwise, he bets the flop, and boom, he check raises me. Oh, sorry, he just raises me, not check raises me. So Ace 6, Ace King, almost impossible for him to have. We bet them on the flop when check 2. any set, almost impossible. Even a flush draw. I mean, we don't have any spades here, so he could have a flush draw. He could have like a 8 high flush draw, you know, like 4, 5, 7, 8. So he's literally just got an 8 high flush draw. Maybe he wouldn't bet that on the flop. That would kind of make sense. But now that I'm betting on the turn, he's just thinking I don't have an ace because I didn't bet the flop. You know, so he's going for a raise here. So most people just fold here, but he has nothing, guys. He has nothing. You can either, the first skill I think is to recognize when people don't have much, and then the second skill is to actually do something about it. So boom, I just raise him. I rep nothing, he reps nothing, but I'm going to see if he's willing to do anything about it, because the thing is, I am. Here I go. I'm doing something about it. He folds. So we've got a rundown against a mega whale who min 3 bets us pretty much. Always flat calling. He bets flop. No other play here but to call. Turn. He bets again. I think he would bet more than this if he had a strong hand. I don't actually mind raising here. Thing is, there's so many hands that can call. So if we raise here, we have to shove river. But I think calling is probably a better play. So call here. 9 on the river. And he checks. And I think this is a good bluffing spot. So he just bets 760 and he calls. And the funny thing is, he calls with ace king high. So I was bluffing on the river and he calls with ace king high. That was just a funny one to show you. This was a badly played hand. I just want to let you know. Opens and I get called. Sorry, I call there. Just bear with me a moment. And gets 3 bets there. 3 bets there. I still flat call. 4 bet, jam, jam. This is a fold, I believe. I have queens and sevens. I mean, somebody for sure has aces, so I literally need to hit. I think you hit what, 1 in 4 times, or no, 1 in 5. Between 1 in 4 and 1 in 5 times, you will hit a set like 1 in 4.5 times. So I'm definitely not getting the right price, but I decided to just jam and kings here with an ace. And I'm in 13% equity because this guy has a queen and this guy has a 7. So I do have a lot less equity than I'm supposed to. My flush draw is dead. I have no straight draws. So I think this is actually a fold here. If I had like queen, queen, jack, jack, double suited, then for sure, like I'm going with it. But queen, queen, 7, 7, single suited, I think I have to fold. I get very lucky on the flop, but that's kind of irrelevant. Just want to show you guys that was actually quite a badly played hand there. So we've got aces. Guy opens. I decided to flat call because this guy is a fish and I'd like to bring him along. So I decided to do that. And check flop to the pre-flop raiser. Decided to call, hoping to bring this guy along, increase my odds. And boom, 10 on the turn. I don't mind check raising here because we're like, I'm 400 big blinds deep, or just under. He's 200 big blinds deep. So we could even check raise and then bet the river, get an even bigger pot. But I just decided to lead, which is kind of cheaper. And he raises me. And I do something really weird and just decide to like small raise back. And I really don't like this now because the thing is at 20 PLO, people play so straightforward. Like people play so straightforward. Like they hardly ever raise like without the nuts. It's just the truth. They always have it. But I decided just to min raise just to see what's going on here. Just in case he has like pocket kings and he's bluffing. And he flat calls. So at this point I should be over. I should be done with the hand. 10 on the river and I decided to shove just because I have blockers. And he calls me. And he did have ace king and he also had queen 10 for the full house. So yeah, basically he's raising me with the nuts with a redraw, as I say. People don't like to really raise on the turn without the nuts generally at 20 PLO. So we open 8 jack 4 9 double suited. We're 150 big blinds deep, just under. and get 3-bet by fish in the small blind. I call, this guy calls, checks, and we check, and this guy bets. This guy calls, and oh, I've got to pause it there. So this guy's betting, like, you know, betting position when missed flop bet is 77%, which is huge. So he can obviously have air here. So I actually just don't mind jamming here. I mean, if this guy has aces without hearts, I think he has to fold, unless he has like ace ace deuce 4 or ace ace 4 ace ace deuce. Like, there's a gut shot he's going to go with it. But I don't actually mind jamming here, even though I just have top pair. The benefit of calling is I can get it in on any jack, any 8, any 9, probably any 4 or any club. So I can get it on so many cards, and I am getting like 3.5 to 1, or like just under 3.5 to 1 here. So I do call, and the 6 comes on the turn. This guy checks, and we block 4-7, deuce 4, ace 4, and 7-9, because we've got 4 and a 9 in the hand, and we've still got top pair. So I expect this guy's range to be very weak, and also this guy's range to be kind of weak. So we just jam here. We're only risking 19 to win 26, so it's actually a good jam. And this guy folds as he thought he would. This guy calls it off, and he did actually have aces with hearts, so I didn't expect him to have that hand. I expect him, obviously, to see bet the flop with that hand after we 3-bet. And after it checks to this guy, I definitely expect him to jam, but he does look super passive post-flop, so it's kind of not a surprise it does that. But you caught me out, but I still do like my play. And at 50 PLO, this guy is playing 97% of his hands. Crazy fish, so definitely 3-betting him. And he obviously flat calls 6-6 deuce. Good flop for my perceived hand. So we start off with a bet, and he calls 10 on the turn. I remember what I was going to do here. So I check, and I was actually going to check jam here because the pot is already 26. When I checked here, I was sure that he's going to bet a lot of the time, even though he doesn't rip much at all. I just thought he might just stab like 15 or 12, whatever, and I'm just going to jam, let you know I'm winning. But I decided to check, and he checks back, and then it's king on the river. So I check, and then he bets 16, and obviously he never has a 6. I block a 10. It's hard for him to have pocket 10s. It's hard for him to have king 10. He never has aces. You probably wouldn't value bet ace king or king queen. So most likely hand, complete air. So obviously snap his head off, and he does have quite a likely hand, you know, busted draw. So I'm just letting the fish bluff, kind of standard really. Limp. It's a limped pot. So we start off with a check, and we actually just call here. Obviously we can just raise, but this guy's pretty loose. So once he bets the flop, I expect him to bet the turn. So we just flat. Plus, because it's a limp pot, we want to build the pot, and you know, if we just pot it, it's just going to fold. If he can pot a bluff and we can check raise him, or if he can pot a semi bluff and we can check raise him, then we're going to get the pot, you know, obviously a lot bigger, and he's going to have a weaker hand. So the best way to get the most money in is obviously check call the flop, and then check the turn, let him bet, and now we can pot it. So it's gone from, you know, an 80 cents pot on the flop to obviously now he's bet called 13 on the turn, and now the 10 comes on the river. I want to start thinking about the kind of hands he's going to have here. He can have, obviously, 10 jack is a very likely hand. 6-7. He can have diamond draw like queen 10. 10 jack with diamonds. If he has an ace with diamonds, I think he's getting it in. Like say he had like, you know, 2 pair aces up with diamonds, he's getting it in. So pretty much, I think we're usually winning here. If the worst card for me to see, obviously, would be, you know, a diamond, a queen, because the 10 doesn't complete an open ender. So 8, 9, 10 jack is going to be the most likely open ender, or 7, 10, or 6, 7. You know, the 10, well, the 10 does complete 6, 7, obviously, but it doesn't complete the nut straight. So queen would be a worse card. 6, well, 6 is the same as the 10, but oh no, sorry, 6 to complete 7, 10. Yeah, so a queen, you know, or a 6 would be a worse card than a 10, I believe. So after I've check raised here, I think he has too many missed draws. So I don't think I'm going to get any value out of him. And as he does seem quite aggressive, I do check to him and he decides to pot the river. So he's basically definitely saying now he's got jack queen or nothing. So I've set it up nicely for a call. It's very unlikely that he has jack queen, more likely an open ender, and that's what he had, an open ender with a flush draw on the flop. He did actually river ace 10 and decided to turn it into a bluff, I think. I suppose he did block a 10. So that was a, see, it was just a limped pot. I mean, he was going to be calling with that anyway, but just a little limped pot, 40 cents in it. We managed to get a whole stack in the river by playing the hand. We get a whole stack pretty much. 20 euros is won by him. So we've got aces here. We decided to free bet the aces. We flat called most of our other aces out of position in these hands, but this guy is mega fishy, so I just like 3 betting here. So we flop a 9, flop an ace of hearts, and I decide to check. I prefer a bet, to be honest, but that's how I played it. I checked. I remember this hand actually. Now we have a 9 and we have an ace of hearts. So I do bet here, and he calls. I would have preferred to bet bigger on the turn, right? So I could shout for a river shove, because we do have a 9, right? And we also block the ace of hearts. He never has like a jack 9, because I check the flop. He most of the time is going to be betting the flop with jack 9. Any pocket jacks, any pocket 5s. Pocket 5s are very rare. So by this river, like, he never has a full house really. I block the ace of hearts, and you know, I also block the 9. So his best hand here can be a king high flush, which on this board it can't be ace high flush, can't be a full house obviously. So I would have preferred to bet a little bit more on the turn, so I could shove the river here. But I decided to check, thinking he's not going to fold. Flush went to showdown percentages 49%, which is pretty high. So I think that's why I didn't do it. I checked behind, he does have the queen eye flush. So he would have to fold that hand, but whether he would or not, I'm not sure. So limps the button. This is the same guy as a minute ago when I had the let him bluff with the 7-10 that he had. Limped pot, I just bet flop, calls, turn, checks, checks, river, checks, bets. I remember this hand, I actually would now just call here, looking at this, but just in case he's betting like a pair of 8s for like a bluff, but it's kind of, you know, he's got a full house. He's rarely got a queen, obviously. I've got a king blocker, a 10 blocker, blah, blah, blah. I'll just go for a small raise and he folds. But yeah, probably winning anyway. I suppose you could have a straight. I couldn't beat a straight. So we open with jacks and gets 3 bet. And I would fold this hand against most players being out of position. However, this guy I know is a whale. So definitely have to call here. And jack 6, 3, 7. This is usually a fold, but as again, it's player specific. Check to them, they check back, which is great. Ace of spades. Check, and they bet 357. Now, I just know people stab this card because it's an ace. It's a scare card. Even though it brings the flush, they just think, oh, they check the flop. You know, I'm checking the flop because I don't have much. You know, out, and then the ace comes. Your opponent checks, and now you're just automatically betting, basically. That's generally what fishes you know, thought process subconsciously. We just bet the ace because it's a scare card. So I decided to raise. I've got a jack of spades blocker. I also have an ace blocker just in case he somehow has ace-7 or pocket aces, but like I said, I think he's betting this card like 80% of the time. So I just check raise. And most people would just fold the turn. It's opponent specific. So now we have ace, queen, 7-8 double suited. So a very nice hand. You can 3-bet this or you can flat call. Doesn't really matter. So this guy is in the pot, I think. It just shows that he's folded. So checks, checks, and right here we have obviously a very strong hand. We have the nut flush draw, and we have a gut shot to the nuts with a 6. But more importantly, we do have an ace blocker and a 7 blocker. So you can check back and try and make your hand, or you can turn it into a semi-bluff. And I like to turn it into a semi-bluff. So we bet, and we get 1 call. 10 of diamonds on turn is a great card. So I'm putting here to make it bigger by the river. We were 200 big blinds deep to start the hand. I mean, and I can even get value, which is the sick thing. You know, if the board, say the river's a king of spades, and I put it, he has to fold because I have 6-7. He basically never has 6-7. But if the river is the 9 of clubs and he checks me and I put, I can get called. So it's the interesting thing about this hand is that I win loads of the time when he misses, and then when he hits, quite often I'll make even more money when he makes the flush. So anyway, pot here, flat calls, beautiful turn card, river card, jack, checks, and I just put it again. Just it's kind of exploitable. I'm just putting here with a complete bluff, but I would make sure to do it with 6-7, and he folds. Brilliant. Limp the pot, and we flop very strong for this hand. So we're just coming out strong. We're potting it straight away. As you can see, we just get calls. So I'd always pot pretty much limped flops. I was potting again, still expecting to get loads of action, get 1 call, and the river's the 4 of hearts, and the guy has 656 left. Now, obviously this is a shove, but some people that are on the tighter side are like, oh, well, the backdoor hearts get there, maybe I'll just check. And they're just missing out on like a pot-sized bet pretty much. There's only 7 in there, he's only got 6 euros. So it's like, you're missing out on 6 euros. Anytime he has like ace queen, ace king, set of queens, you're missing out because he's never folding those hands. So you have to shove, and he does call, and he does have a set of kings. So don't miss out on that value, guys. Jack 9, 5, 7. Open it up, flat call, very strong flop for us. Checks, and we bet, top and bottom pair, gut shot, flush draw, 4 on the turn, checks, and we bet, and he raises. We don't have the nuts anymore. Well, we never had the nuts, but I see people just flat calling him. This guy's a reg. Good chance that you call here, and he's going to shove the river, and once you brick, the turn is, the river's like, the queen of clubs, and he shoves, and now you've got, top and bottom pair pretty much, top and middle pair, and you fold because 7-8 is there, 2-3 is there, 3-7 is there. No, I give the guy credit to check raise the turn because he's a reg. This card is kind of scary for my range, but the reality is I have a 7 blocker, I have 2 pair, I have a gut shot, I have a flush draw. I would never just call this hand. There's already 13 in there. He's only got 12, 18, 16 left pretty much. So I've already put 260 in. So I'm obviously jamming, and he folds. So now I'll just take a note on him that he can obviously, he's not scared to check raise on a turn and rip cards, if it's scary for me, even though the 4 is not really the worst card. Well, it kind of is because I've got flush draw, so against my actual hand it's kind of the worst card. Or 6, the 6 would actually be worse, but Yeah. Okay, last hand. Ace Jack 4-9. Opens, calls, and I call. And look at the size. Look at the flop. Sorry. Look at this flop, not the size of it. So this guy leads out. We just raise. I mean, obviously we raise. We've got 3 pair and a flush draw, and the raiser just called. Did he open the pot up? Yeah, he opened it up. So we raise this dude who's a reg and original PFR. Flat calls. Boom. Turn 2 flush draws and 3 pairs. Guy checks. So obviously we're getting this in. It's not really an interesting hand, but I just wanted to kind of cool hand. I kind of like keeping the draws in here. I actually would prefer betting something like 8 and shoving pretty much any river, apart from maybe a king, 10 or queen. Any club obviously jamming, any diamond obviously jamming, any ace, jack or 4 obviously jamming, any other card jamming, apart from queen, 10 or king, pretty much. So in this hand I decided to pot it, and this guy shoves and this guy shoves, so it's a crazy hand. So obviously you have to call it off, but at this point I remember thinking like, this guy is definitely slow played set of aces here. Feels like that, but obviously I'm never folding. And then it goes to the hand, 22%, even though I flopped 3 pair and I've got 2 flush draws. So the guy did have aces, and this guy has a wrap. It's kind of unfortunate that the turn was the 8 of diamonds and not like the 6 of diamonds, because then this guy would have to fold, because literally he would just have a gut shot and a queen eye flush draw, which is not even the nut flush draw. But as it was the 8 of diamonds, obviously now he's got a wrap and a flush draw, so he's actually a favourite here, even though he's only got 1 pair. And this guy obviously has a top set, so we're not even in bad shape considering, but we brick out, well, we actually make a flush, but this guy makes a bigger flush. Right, so that's the end of the hands, guys, and tune in next time where I'll be reviewing some more hands. Thank you very much. Thank you.